Rambunctious giant insects who have once again come back. The EDFP boys!
Earth Defense Force is a series that I absolutely love. In fact, I love it so much, I've tried writing videos about it 5 times now, and every single time I have failed miserably. I'm sure this time will go much better. The newest release in the series is the confusingly named Earth Defense Force 4.1. Confusingly named because the actual Earth Defense Force 4 wasn't even called that in the West. Earth Defense Force 4, or 2025 as it was actually known as over here, was released on the Xbox 360 and PS3 in 2014, and although it was a good game, it ran like absolute bollocks. Earth Defense Force 4.1 is an updated version of that game, which offers new levels, weapons, and most importantly, a frame rate that isn't comparable to a PowerPoint presentation. This was released for the PS4 in 2015, and because I don't have £300 lying around to blow on a console I'd get for one game, and one game only, I never got to play it. Well, it only took them about a year, but it's finally out on PC, and oh my god, I am so happy it is. If you don't know what Earth Defense Force is, allow me to give you a quick rundown. You are placed in a large open level with a machine gun and a rocket launcher, and are told you can't come home until every one of the 400 enemies in the level are dead. And those enemies happen to be aliens who take the form of giant ants, spiders, robots, and dragons. It is an incredibly simple game to play, with the objective of every level, and indeed the only objective for the entire game, being to kill everything. It is honestly the modern day equivalent of those weird obscure titles you'd find on the PS2, which when you played them were actually surprisingly good. And this can be mostly put down to the fact that literally every Earth Defense Force game is the same game, and that game happens to be the original Earth Defense Force, which was a weird obscure title that was released on the PS2. It's the type of game where you roll everywhere, because it's slightly faster than running. It's the type of game where you run around frantically collecting pickups, which is absolutely never annoying or at all tedious. It's the type of game that very much feels like it was made in the previous decade, which is something I quite like about it. It's just plain, simple fun, which doesn't take itself too seriously, even if it does get a tad repetitive after a while. It has some of the most satisfying and fun weapons I've ever used in a video game. The guns sound meaty, the explosions have real oomph to them, and they make enemy giblets fly in all directions with every shot. On top of this, there are a lot of weapons in this game. Like, one could go as far to say too many weapons. As in, there's fucking 800 of them. So you have your machine guns and rocket launchers, your lightning chain guns and plasma cannons, your airstrikes and giant kaiju mechs, your spears and anti-air artillery. There is a vast diversity in the type of weaponry you use in this game, and thanks to there being 800 of the things, there will almost certainly be a kick-ass full auto version of your favourite weapon. These weapons are split over 4 classes. The Ranger is your typical ground soldier, arguably the most boring one, but I fail to see what's boring about a fully automatic rocket launcher. The Wing Diver, apart from giving you sweet upskirts every time you use her, has a jetpack and weapons that fire lightning. However, the main downside to her is that in order to keep herself light, and by that I mean so the developers would have an excuse to make her wear a skimpy outfit, not that I'm complaining or anything, is that if an alien even so much looks in your direction, you will almost certainly die instantly. The Air Raider is pretty mediocre when playing solo, but in co-op is a pretty fun support character who gets to deploy airstrikes, spawn vehicles, and then inevitably mess up deploying the airstrike, which then kills your entire team. Or maybe that's just me. Finally, there is the Fencer, who starts off being slow and awful, but once you get the hang of him, actually becomes the fastest class in the game, as you barrel around the landscape, spearing robots in the face, and then dispersing an entire crowd of ants using your massive sword. There's also the online mode to play through, which is perfect if, like me, you have no friends who want to play games with you. Now I know some of you will be coming into this video asking one question. How is the PC version? Well, I have to say it is better than I expected, but then again I was also expecting it to not even have mouse and keyboard support, so that probably shows how low my expectations were. The keyboard controls actually work really well. They are set up pretty decently to begin with, and are very customizable. Also, all the PC exclusive text reads like it was written by a 12-year-old Japanese student who's learning English for the first time. It's pretty cute in its own way. You'll use the keyboard. Alright, Jesus. And it runs pretty well, 60 FPS for the most part, even when there's a lot of crap on screen. The only times it really drops is when the bigger buildings get destroyed, dropping down to about 20 FPS, which sounds pretty bad, but considering that every Earth Defense Force game before this one ran at mostly below that, I'll take it. Yeah, this is fine. I have experienced some bugs during my playtime. For some reason it disconnects me from the internet sometimes. Not really sure why it does that. I've also had it crash quite a few times while I've been playing, but you know, nothing game breaking, just mild annoyances more than anything. Overall then, it's an alright port for what I now consider one of my favourite games of all time. This type of game is not for everyone, I can completely understand that. It does get repetitive. The voice acting is amazing, cheesy.
This is Scout 4. The enemy. Be careful.
What it does is simple, but it has also perfected what it does, and really after 4 games being pretty much exactly the same, you would have hoped so by now. The price tag of £30 will probably be a lot for some people, but for me, personally, it was absolutely worth every bit of it.